So there are some new developments in the Floyd Ray Cook manhunt. So it's the sixth day. We're on the sixth day of the manhunt, but last night, Troy Wayne, who was said to be an associate of Floyd Ray Cook, was taken into custody along with Katy McCarty. It's KATYMCCARTY. So this is a white female and 50-year-old white male, and Katy McCarty had some outstanding warrants out. Now there's some commentary that I want to mention, but I want to actually get the news report. Pretty good. So let's see here. There's a report that came in like 3 in the morning last night. They said this is about 6:30 at night. So two dangerous acquaintances, possible accomplices of Cook were detained on Wednesday night and being questioned following a chase and a search in the woods. Now, I looked up where they said White House. All Good is where the original shooting had begun. They tried to pull him over. He shot at some Tennessee cops, ran up to Kentucky. That was in All Good, which is actually right next to Cookeville, which is just east of Nashville. I don't know, it looks like maybe 30 minutes to an hour. But they caught his two associates at White House, Tennessee, which is just north of Nashville, halfway to the state line, in between the state line and Nashville on 65. It's White House. So White House is a small community. It's what is called White House. And there were reports that Cook was in the area of White House. So Katy McCarty and Troy Wayne were getting some gas at a gas station when the U.S. Marshal spotted him and approached him to question him. And when they approached him, they drove away. They hit 2 police officer vehicles, probably U.S. Marshal cars, when they drove away. Originally it said that they fired shots, but they didn't. The police fired shots, in self-defense, of course, and missed. So then they drive the road on down, a one-way, dead-end, suburb area, crash the car, running through the neighborhood. They find Katy McCarty out in the field with, in mud, and they run through the cornfield. So they found her in the mud and in the dirt, and they found Troy Wayne just in the neighborhood. So eventually, I guess he ran through the cornfield, and then they separated. This was after... and then they arrested him, they took him in. So this was after the chase. When they were being chased, there was dozens of federal, state, and local officers, dozens, 20, 30 people with helicopters, K-9 units, dogs, descended on rural Robertson County, Tennessee, to aid in the hunt. So that's the development. This was last night, 6:30, 7 p.m. 2 of his associates, possible accomplices, Katy McCarty and Troy Wayne, are on the run. Now, originally he was arrested for methamphetamine. There's charges in Hardin County that says, he has to answer for finding trafficking in methamphetamine. So I'm not sure how, what that case is all about, but the methamphetamine is the charge. The outstanding bench warrant was because he didn't show up for court because of the methamphetamine charges. And then when he was about to be picked up near Cookeville, that's when he fired a shot at the Tennessee police officers in All Good, because he didn't want to, there's a warrant, he knew there was a warrant out for his arrest, so he didn't want to go back into the Hardin County. The Hardin County courthouse is the one that had, put the warrant out for his arrest. So all this has, is stemming from the war on drugs. I was trying to check out, while he's been on the run for 6 days, there's 2 people that had robbed me, Curtis Stewart, Derek Bonds. It was a home invasion, coming to my house, took a lot of electronics and jewelry and valuable stuff, over $1,000 to $2,000, and the police were called and nothing had happened. So they are still at large. Curtis Stewart, Derek Bonds, been at large for a year or 2. You also, Hub Ferguson. In fact, unsolved murders are a huge problem in Kentucky. So they haven't caught John Robert Boone. You know, it says 2010, he's been on the run for 2 years. So John Robert Boone, Run Johnny Run, he was, you know, on a marijuana charge. They had tried to get him on marijuana. So again, war on drugs, and it's been 7 years since, you know, John Robert Boone has been on the run. I haven't heard about his capture yet, so I assume he's, you know, still free. And let's also, you know, I mentioned unsolved murders, Cowboy Hopkins, Hub Ferguson, you know, the people who murdered these people are still roaming free. They've been out large, and they've been for decades. So this isn't, you know, these are just local folks that I know about, but, you know, there's, you know, dozens that I've actually read about, and it's kind of daunting, to be honest with you. But there's also, and they're murderers, so that's worse than, you know, John Robert Boone or Floyd Ray Cook. You know, they haven't killed anybody. Floyd Ray Cook did, you know, some heinous things in the 70s and 80s, but apparently he had paid for it. He's out free, and then, you know, got into meth, and meth is the reason why he is being chased at now. Meth, and because they had fired at a couple shots at the police officers, and, you know, police officers really hate when that happens, and they get all pissed off, like they act like he's a cop killer or some shit, when it's not that he's, you know, he hasn't killed any police officers, and he shot in really self-defense for himself. People have a right to preserve themselves. That's only logical. Yes, you have a right to preserve yourself. You don't have a right to hurt others, but you have a right to preserve yourself. So there's compared his crime, his methamphetamine crime, to the crime that happened in Knott County the day before the shooting in Tennessee even took place, was you know, a murder that happened on Pine Top in Knott County. In Knott County, that was where you had Luke Pridemore went up to a guy. He was, you know, saying, "Don't come up on my property, I'm going to shoot you," and he didn't know if he had a gun or not, so he shot him. Luke Pridemore killed Stephen H. Brock and Michael Asher in May. So you have a person who is killed, taking 2 lives off this planet, murder being the worst crime you could commit against anybody. Took Stephen Brock and Michael Asher off the planet. He is still running around free. The murder of Samantha Ramsey, still running around free for years, you know, this is, you know, yeah, there's a big manhunt. He shot at some cops, but it started out with a methamphetamine thing, and now it's becoming sort of like this, you know, huge Dorner manhunt. Also reminds me of there's 2 prisoners in New York, right, running around the mountains trying to find out. Cumberland County Schools is now open for business. They caught the people in White House, and so actually White House is over to Nashville. You know, when the thing in Oakwood happened, he drove up north, did his business, and now it seems like his associates are in White House. They even said that Cook himself was in White House too. So that's, you know, some updates. Let's see here. The dramatic arrest unfolded after U.S. Marshal investigators on Wednesday spotted a car they believe was linked to Cook near White House, Tennessee. The driver attempted to flee, crashing into 2 law enforcement vehicles when an officer approached the car. According to the U.S. Marshals, it said that an officer on foot who was nearly struck by the vehicle fired a shot in self-defense as the car sped. From the scene, the vehicle crashed into a ravine about 3 miles away, and its 2 occupants escaped. That's Katy McCarty and Troy Wayne. The U.S. Marshal said a few hours later, Katy McCarty, 35, and Troy Wayne were taken into custody after an extensive search of the wooded area. So clearly, the law enforcement has gotten better at once you located and, you know, found somebody, you stay on them until you arrest them. The Tennessee cops in Allgood couldn't do that, and neither did the Kentucky State Police when they went up to Cumberland County. So let's see. They're known associates. They're still pretending like, you know, they don't have any clue of what, you know, how they're associated or why. McCarty, who he said was found in a field covered in mud and soaking wet, has an extensive record with multiple warrants, so she had outstanding warrants. Both Wayne and McCarty were dangerous. They said Cook previously convicted. Okay, so then they're going to talk about his previous crimes. They're calling him a rapist. They're calling him the cop, you know, the person who shot at the cops, rapist. But the rape is 30, 40 years ago, and him shooting at the police was because they were going to arrest him. So I don't know if he is intending on hurting other people, or he's just saying, I don't want to be, I don't want to go back to jail. Because one's more of a defensive position, and the other one's an offensive position. So I would assume he's more on a defensive position. And so, even though that's what they're branding him in the media, it's a methamphetamine charge. Trafficking meth and then tampering with evidence, probably tried to hide the meth. And so he didn't show up for court on his court date, and so now he has a bench warrant out for his arrest for failure to appear. He didn't go to court, so there's a bench warrant. Not a bank robber, not a armed and dangerous, crazy person. The only reason they would consider him armed and dangerous now is because there's a huge manhunt, after him. And so corner anything, and even, a cute little kitten, if you corner it and attack it, it could turn vicious. So that's a little bit of an update. There's two associates, and there's lots of actually news coverage of this, probably about 10 articles, including the Daily Mail in Britain. They said they found a car that they had been looking for, and the car, I don't even remember, what the car was, so the description of the car, they hadn't even released out to the public. He's got a $1,000 bounty on his head. Anybody who's got any information is told to contact the TBI, the Tennessee Bureau of Intelligence, I guess. So, let's see. That's where we're at now, too. Cook is still at large. Cook is still on the run, 6 days into it. But they did arrest 2 of his associates last night after a chaotic scene at a small-town Tennessee gas station late Wednesday. They spotted the car. Still not saying anything in Star Tribune. Possible new clues. Marion County is reporting that a 2003 maroon Ford Mustang with a black cloth top, license plate 823HRH, could be, involved. But that seems weird. Marion County is really far northwest of Cumberland County, and it's Kentucky, and they just found his associates in White House, Tennessee. Maybe it's the same car. I don't know. We didn't get a description of the car. But it also seems like people could be fishing too, like, oh, I bet this car theft must be related. They had to be Floyd Ray Cook. So Floyd Ray Cook is getting a sort of reputation for committing any and all unsolved crimes right now. Let's see, they said they rammed 2 police officers, right, when they drove away. They fled on foot into surrounding cornfields. This is Sky News. 2 occupants then fled on foot into surrounding cornfields. Dozens of federal, state, local officers with helicopters and sniffer dogs joined the search in Robertson County. Police announced this week that Cook was believed to be traveling with Troy Wayne, 50, described as one of his associates from Raywick, Kentucky, where he was last known to live. Officers found Wayne's girlfriend, 35-year-old Katy McCarty, soaking wet in the field. Wayne was found nearby. Both were arrested, although police have not revealed the charges, and Cook remains on the run. He is accused of shooting and wounding Officer Ascari Valencia during a traffic stop on Saturday. Mr. Valencia was saved by his bulletproof vest. So that's and then an hour later, after that, Kentucky State Police trooper recognized Cook's car, tried to stop him in Cumberland County. He sped away but hit a tree and ran off on foot. He also allegedly opened fire on the officer. So that's pretty good rundown. This last article here, the car careened down a dead-end street, through a fence and into a ravine. Miller said the 2 people inside fled on foot into surrounding cornfields. Yeah, so basically it's almost the Daily Mail. It's almost like they copy and pasted some of these news articles. So that's happening, right? That's going on in Kentucky right now. The Floyd Ray Cook is still at large, not in Cumberland County. Go back to school, everybody in Cumberland County. They think he might be in White House, Tennessee. It does seem like they're coming closer and closer to the end of this. This is a big find. This is a big deal. And, you know, if they're two close associates, it's only a matter of time before they say what they know. And then you do have, you know, Floyd Ray Cook out there by himself, wherever it is. You know, he's able to live this long, 6 days running out in the woods. Eventually found himself, you know, wherever he is today. Maybe he's hanging out with John Robert Boone, or maybe actual, you know, thieves, Curtis Stewart, Derek Bonds, and let's hope that he actually, all this ends peacefully, and he doesn't go by the way of Hub Ferguson, Cowboy Hopkins, or Sam Ramsey, Stephen H. Brock, and Michael Asher. So never forget, JFK, MLK murderers still roam free. We should agree that, you know, murder is criminal. We shouldn't put up with fucking murderers. We shouldn't put up with this shit. That's the death penalty. And we've only executed like 2 or 3 people in the last 20 years. So to get someone through the death penalty process, it's much easier just for someone to, you know, pop off somebody else just because they didn't like what they were saying. Okay. So that's October 29th, 1 o'clock.